now, cats, we're back again this week on the Balls from Ellwood show, and what a humongous show we have. We have tons of stuff to get to. We have an incredible guest. Who's our guest this week?
We have Felissa Rose from the incredible Sleepaway camp.
We do?
We do.
Wow.
Balls interviewed her.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
Make sure you don't miss that shit, cats, and let's get, we got all kinds of other shit to get to. Xtina, do you have anything to add to the show before I get going here?
Nah, just we got some movie reviews for you, some video game nerd stuff. You know, we're going to run through that here before we get to the guest. Why don't you tell the people about your love of this Mr. Bronzi?
Oh, cats. I love Robert Bronzi. You may have no idea who that is, but I'm going to tell you a little about it, and hopefully when I'm done, you're going to love him too. Balls grew up on action movies, horror movies. It's a no-brainer. I've seen every Van Damme movie with my mom. My mom thinks he's super sexy. I don't know why, but that's another gross story we'll tell some other time. Back when Seagal wasn't a douchebag, and Charles Bronson was always a staple in my action movies growing up watching, and Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, but I could go on all day. But
good.
This dude, he was actually his stuntman and fill-in for Charles Bronson when he was alive for his movies, and the dude is an identical replica. You can't even tell the difference that it's not Charles Bronson. So he put out a movie. I guess apparently Charles Bronson had said once he's done, he has his blessing to continue his legacy, which he has been doing a great job with. I first discovered Bronzi with a little movie a little while ago called Death Kiss, and it's just like another Death Wish. It was awesome, and so I've been infatuated with this cat ever since. So did a little homework, and it's amazing. This guy is really, really interesting. I have to say, he was born in Hungary. He's a traveled world actor. He's a professional horseman. He loves the Wild West. He's been in tons of classic American film. He's worked as a carpenter, a horse trainer, a musician, former military service member, professionally trained actor at Maria Mezzi Theater School in Budapest, as well as, like I said, he was Charles Bronson's stuntman. He's an acrobat, judo player. He speaks multiple languages as Bronzi, English, Spanish, and Hungarian. I'm pretty sure his pee might cure fucking COVID-19 at this point.
Man, that'd be great.
Pretty amazing.
We should probably get that checked.
But the reason I'm bringing this up is I just watched his new movie, Cry Havoc. I didn't think it could get any better, but here's the premise of the movie. Have you ever seen or wanted to see Charles Bronson versus Leatherface?
It was never really on my list, that's for sure.
Well, it's always been on mine.
I'm sure
I didn't know it was on my list until I heard the premise, and I'm like, wow, that's definitely you don't have to dig anymore because you hit gold. Loved it. It's part of a trilogy. Looking forward. He has another 2 movies coming out. I'm looking forward to. This is the time of Bronzi. I am a fan.
All right.
He is my hero. So
it's your Man Crush Monday.
It is Man Crush Monday, all about my Bronzi. So check it out. In fact, I'm going to put pictures up side by side, and I guarantee you won't be able to tell who's who. I'm not even going to tell you who's who. You have to figure it out on your own.
It is wild.
So anyway, what else did we watch?
We watched a little movie called The Wretched.
Oh yeah.
And that was good. Pretty solid cast, even though I've never heard of any of them. It was about, I guess, a woman gets overcome by a demon / witch / wolf type person, mixed with what else, Balls? What is it mixed with?
Well, I felt it was like a to be honest with you, I felt it like kind of homaged several different movies that I thought was really good. It was like if you put Fright Night and Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window and any given great monster movie in a blender and you mixed it all up. I liked it. I seen people giving this flick a little shit on the internet. I don't
know why.
I think it's really good. I think it's a really nice. A lot of people try to make movies like the 80s and they don't. I thought this was really a nice homage to the 80s. I thought it was. I really enjoyed it. So if you don't have nothing else going on and you want to see a good, and really, that's an untapped resource. They don't make very many witch movies to begin with, and when they do, they're fucking stupid. So, this one's actually, I thought it was great. So I liked it a lot, so check it out, cats. So, What else? What else did we get to?
Well, there's a remake of Valley Girl. Did you watch Valley Girl as a child or as a youngin?
Well, everybody knows my infatuation with Nick Cage. I love him. I love him. I love everything about him.
Man Crush Monday.
Man Crush Nick Cage. That's Tuesday. But
Okay, that's Tuesday.
I got one for every day.
You gotta
of the
have
week.
one for every day.
But I love Nick Cage. And when you're a kid, though, like really, even if I didn't back then, you had no choice because it was on HBO every 3 hours. So it was a really popular film. And I have to say, a lot of people's been shitting on this too. I thought it was a really dumb idea until I seen Jessica Roth roll in. And if you don't know who that is, that was Tree from Happy Death Day. And I'm like, meh, all right, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, you know what? They took the original soundtrack, which I think is actually probably one of the most iconic soundtracks from that era, and they made it a musical, which I was like, man, most people would be turned off by that. I get it, but it didn't bother me at all. I have to say, I actually, and you know, so if you go in expecting some dopey, fun, you know, musical, I didn't really come out disappointed. It kind of was everything I thought it would be.
And you have like Alicia Silverstone telling her, like, talking to her present day daughter, and then it flashes back, and it's pretty cool. And you know, I mean, you got Logan Paul playing basically himself.
Yeah, douchebag.
Yeah. So
there was no acting involved. He wrote on set, they threw him in a costume, and they're like, just be you, dickhead. And he was.
We need a douchebag for this role.
He was like, I'm perfect. Hire me for sure.
That's how that went down. For sure.
And then, yeah, like I said...
my girl Mae Whitman was on there.
She was awesome. She's a
on
punker.
Good Girls, if you don't know. She was on Parenthood. She's the little
Scott
girl
Pilgrim.
Oh, yeah. She's the little girl in Hope Floats.
Oh, that's right. I still can't believe that, man.
I know,
that's
it's
crazy.
amazing, right? But there was a guy named Josh Whitehouse. He's a new up-and-comer. He played the Nicolas Cage role, and he did quite well. He's... I guess he's a British folk, and you know, I guess the only other thing he did prior to that, Balls did a little research. It was pretty heavy stuff, huh?
It's probably a good thing that this happened to him, because his biggest claim, he's did a couple movies, but the biggest claim to fame was a Hallmark film, Night Before Christmas. Not N-I-G-H-T, but K-N-I-G-H-T. Here was the premise. He gets sucked through time as a medieval knight, and he comes to present day to fall in love with Vanessa Hudgens, who's playing a science teacher. If people think this is shitty, try watching that, cats. I think you'll find a new appreciation for Valley Girl remake for sure. Huh? So I mean, yeah, I mean, cool. I think people are just too cool for school at this point. You know, like they're always. I think people just. You know, nobody wants to admit that they just want to watch something stupid and fun. Everyone's like too cool for that. Oh, yeah. I'm not. I don't choose to be cool. I don't give a shit. I liked it. If you didn't like it, who gives a shit? Yeah. So, take it from me. If you want goofy, stupid, fucking fun, check it out.
Yeah, it's like one of those feel-good movies. I don't know. For me, it was.
Yeah, like it's not. You know, going in, it's going to be saccharine and sugar and fucking and just dopey. And but if you go in and you're expecting that, you might enjoy it. So you might not. Either way. We actually had the opportunity to watch another thing too, which I was looking forward to for quite a while. I actually, as you know, we both are kind of big Scooby-Doo fans growing up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was actually, I don't know if I was the only one, but I was really looking forward to a new Scooby-Doo movie in the theater. But COVID-19 fucked that up, as well as everything else that I look forward to this year. Concerts, Ghostbusters, everything.
Apparently wave pools now.
Wave pools, the 4th of July, anything fun. So why not take Scooby-Doo too, you know? But anyway.
But they really didn't. We still have it.
They ported it to video. You can rent it right now. It's called Scoob. And I have to say, like, I was actually pleasantly surprised at actually how good it was.
Yeah, I didn't really get to watch. I was working from home, but I could hear it in the background and see some of it, and it looked really, really stunning, actually.
The premise is cool. It shows whenever, you know, the gang, Mystery Incorporated, was little kids, and they, you know, how they pretty much became Mystery Incorporated and how they all met. And their first big adventure, trying to solve a mystery, and I thought that was cool.
And then they added some modern day twists to it too, which I thought was hilarious.
Normally that shit drives me nuts, but I actually thought it was done well.
Yeah,
You're
it was
right.
done well. If it's done well, you know. And there's a special guest in there that we're not going to give away, but
there's some surprises and throwbacks to older Scooby-Doos, which you really like. There's some. There's a well-known character that shows up that's voiced by Tracy Morgan that I didn't know if it would work or not, but it actually was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all in all, it was a good time, man. I really, really enjoyed it. In fact, it made me want to go back and watch all the ones I've missed.
I know. Now I'm having a Scooby. I want to have a Scooby Fest.
So yeah, I give it 2 Scooby snacks up.
All right.
Moving right along, I found out some interesting nerd horror movie news. Well, not even really horror movie news, you could say. We'll get to that, but I just heard that remakes are so crazy nowadays.
Yeah.
And I read this and I still am trying to digest it. The person that directed the remake of Suspiria, which a lot of people didn't like, I thought it was okay. It's surely nothing's ever going to be Argento, but it was an interesting take. But I had some great effects. That's probably the best part about it. But I hope I'm saying this right. Is Luca Guadagnino is going to direct a new Scarface. Scarface is such a perfect film. Yeah. Probably one of Brian De Palma's best films. I don't understand when people try to take something that's already perfect and just try to
redo it again.
I can't see interest being really high because everybody loves the original. So I mean, but the thing that's actually sticking in my mind, and the only saving grace I think this project has that will interest anybody is the Coen brothers. They're known for Lebowski, No Country for Old Men, O Brother, Wherefore Art Thou. Yeah. They're writing a script. So, I mean, they're definitely strong script writers. That's the only interesting thing. Other than that, I think it's a really terrible idea.
Yeah.
But speaking of remakes, but not so much remakes, a reboot, which I don't like remakes, but reboots sometimes I think could be fun.
They're fun, yeah.
The creators of Ghoulies is actually trying to get Sony on board to reboot the series for another movie, which I was a kid. As you know, nobody liked me. I had no friends. I always loved the Ghoulies, and I was always hoping a Ghoulie would pop out of my toilet and be friends with me. But that never happened either. But I think it's a cool idea. I'm actually kind of down for it. So.
Do you think it'll be good enough? The Ghoulies are good enough?
Ghoulies are always good enough for me. In fact, Cyndi Lauper and the Goonies, and yes. So.
Goonies, Ghoulies.
Two very, very different things.
Yes,
but anyway.
Yes. Indeed.
And another thing that's got my, wiener, like baby's arm holding a cheeseburger, I gotta tell you. Seeing the new trailer for Mortal Kombat Aftermath. What's that, you may ask, because you're not a nerd? I'll tell you. Mortal Kombat 11 just came out not too long ago. They already had an expansion pack where you got new characters, Joker, whatnot, other, T-800 from Terminator, blah, blah, blah. This is another one, but it adds 3 more characters and friendships and new stage fatalities and all this other shit. But the thing that got me rock hard is RoboCop. If you know Balls, you know how much he loves RoboCop. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. I'm going to direct the 4 right now, just but I'm so excited for this. You get to play RoboCop, and they even have Shiva and Fujian, I think, is Raiden's brother's cousin's roommate's boyfriend or something. I don't know. But he's in there too, but fucking RoboCop. Wow. That's all I have to say. And one more weird video game fact I come across. I wanted to touch on it last week and I totally forgot. I don't know how because it's so bizarre. I actually come across one of the most notorious and video nasties and most, if you think band movies or extreme movies or that kind of thing, then one of the first things that will come to your mind is a movie called Cannibal Holocaust. Ruggero Deodato had to go to court just to prove that the actors were not dead and it was really not a snuff film. So that goes to tell you there was real animal violence in it. They had to prove that the fucking people were alive. The effects were so insane. So I'm like, wow. So then I find out they made 3. It was almost kind of a trilogy, but they're making a 4th part, but it's a video game. It's called Cannibal. It's the official sequel to these films, and it's the 4th part. And it's going to be on all platforms in November. I find that such a weird franchise to make a video game out of.
Really?
But I hear you're going to be using all these different characters, and it's going to show you how, if anybody's seen the Cannibal Holocaust, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but they get in a predicament. I think it's in Borneo, and wackiness ensues, and you're going to use all these different characters, maybe even a cannibal, I don't know, to see how the movie's unfolded. And it's an interesting concept, but it's just so fucking weird. I've never seen a like a property like that used in this capacity. It's really strange, but I'm there, so I'll check it out for sure. But one last thing, it's probably aired already by the time you'll see this, but be sure to go back and check out this week's Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, for the simple fact you will see my dad, creator of Trauma Studios, creator of Toxic Avenger, Lloyd Kaufman, is the guest this week, and you don't want to miss that, cat. So, other than that, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Then I think it's time to get to, well, you all know what time it is. You know her. You love her. Everybody's favorite part of the show. This little girl tells a fucked up story every week, the most fucked up story. Xtina, could you give us your Depravity Corner there?
Well, we're going to lighten it up this week and not be so depraved because, last week it was pretty depraved and it was pretty controversial.
Yeah, after last week, we could probably use a breath of fresh air.
We're going to, we'll call it Depravity Light, how we like that. So, it's not even really depraved at all, to be honest. It's just, it could have very well been disastrous, we'll say, but luckily it wasn't. So it's more or less humorous. So there was a 5-year-old boy in Utah who wanted mommy and daddy to buy him a Lamborghini. I mean, what 5-year-old boy doesn't want a Lamborghini, right?
I never gave a shit about that.
I know, well, this is, I mean, especially at 5, okay, I could see like maybe a 10-year-old boy, but this is a little kooky. And, I'm sure that he would have been fine with mommy and daddy buying him a little, the ones you pull back and they go, that'd have been great. Woohoo! No, that wasn't good enough for this young man. We will call him, what is his name? He is from California, and he is quite a character, you could say. He took off with his parents' car, took the keys.
Well, a 5-year-old.
A 5-year-old. In a Dodge Journey. And just started driving down the road, got on the highway, the interstate, and was heading to California, hundreds of miles away, to purchase a Lamborghini with his $3 from his piggy bank.
He's balling.
He is balling, and he is crazy. And it's kind of cute, but also kind of very scary. Luckily, the cops found him, and they found out that he, obviously was a young child. They saw a car weaving. They're assuming it's a drunk driver or somebody having a heart attack or God knows what, And they pull him over, and I guess he pulls over. How the heck can he even reach the pedals is what I'd like to know. But little Adrian Zamaripa.
Bless you.
You're welcome. I mean, thank you. What? He was in the car, so they're like, where's your parents? Like, what are you doing? So they called the parents, who were both at work. And his, older sister, 16 years old, was supposed to be watching him. Damn well she was making a TikTok. I know kids. I know.
I want a Lamborghini. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I know exactly. That's pretty much how that went down, right? So, needless to say, the police take him home or what have you, and the parents, I guess, go get the car. I guess they didn't press charges against the parents, which I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, okay, maybe no charges, but maybe like a fine or something. So the stranger part is, this story went viral, and Shaq and Jamie Foxx got involved, and they decided that it would be a great idea to rent a real Lamborghini and drive it up to little Adrian's house and take him for a ride. Do you find that odd? I find that a little odd. I mean, okay, celebrities think that's funny and he's cute and whatever. Okay, send him a little Matchbox car. Send him an RV or a RC car, whatever. Don't take a 5-year-old in a Lamborghini. It's kind of strange, I think. And, isn't that rewarding bad behavior, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and not only that, what does Shaq and Jamie Foxx having going on where they could just go rent a fucking Lamborghini and go taking kids all over, out around the town? I mean, that goes to show you, celebrities.
They must be pretty bored in this quarantine. I know that. But
I
anyway,
hope they wore a mask.
I hope they did too. I don't think so. But we got some pictures we'll put up. This kid, he's bound to go viral because he is a hoot. He's this little chubby thing, and he's pretty adorable, but he's also kind of frightening at the
He's
same.
off-putting.
Yeah, here he is.
Oh my God, he looks like
Yeah.
looks like he got out of the mental institute.
Oh my God! Look, there he is in front of the Lamborghini. I'll have to save these pictures. We'll put them
Oh
up.
yeah, you got to see this.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Oh my gosh! What a hoot.
He's a character.
Yeah. So watch, he'll have his own YouTube show. I guarantee it. But have you ever heard of kids riding in cars like that? Isn't that crazy?
No, I've never really.
I heard a story, I think it was about a year ago, about this little kid. He was like 7. And his little sister, who was 3, woke him up. And, I mean, it probably wasn't, I don't know, the middle of the night, but it was late. And she said, you know, Bubby, I need Burger King. And he's like, oh, okay, we'll go get you Burger King. So he gets the parents, like, apparently didn't even think twice about it. Gets in the parents' car, takes the keys, drives down the road. He straps the little 3-year-old girl in, which was pretty impressive, actually, if you ask me. But straps her in, and they go like 2 miles down the road to the local Burger King to get her a burger. And he drove through the drive-through and everything. And when he got through to the window, the workers were, they had your face. They were like, how did you get here? Like, they thought they were being punked or something, but yeah, that's what happened. And so they were like, who are you? Like, what's your name? What's your family's name? So I guess they called the cops, and the cops ultimately called the parents to come get their kids and, you know, took the kid out of the car. I don't know, again, if these people got fined or what have you either, but the parents didn't know they were sleeping. It was the middle of the night, so I don't know if it was a Burger King. I think it was a Burger King, but, you know, I don't know. How bizarre, right?
You're going to go off that trouble for Burger King? I mean, I can see if it was In-N-Out. I mean, I wouldn't even go a block down the road for Burger King.
It was In-N-Out, if only.
I would probably steal a Lamborghini myself to get In-N-Out. So.
No doubt. So if you are blessed enough to be in a city that has In-N-Out, please go have some for us. We would appreciate that. Mail us some. Can we do that? If you can, that'd be great. So that pretty much wraps up this week's Depravity, folks. I tried to keep it a little lighter, trying to not be so dark and dismal. We have enough dark and dismal in our lives. But what is bright and not dark and dismal is the beautiful and lovely Felissa Rose. Is she coming up?
She's coming up, Catch. Check it out.
Hey now, Cats, we're back again this week, and with me I have a very special guest, someone that's near and dear to my heart. A lot of people don't know this, but Balls is a humongous, well, of course they know I'm a humongous horror fan, but they don't know where it originates. So Sleepaway Camp holds a very special part of my heart for the very simple fact it is the first movie as a little Balls that I actually saved up with my allowance, with my own money, and I bought the VHS tape at Kmart, and it was a life-changing thing for me. It was one of the formative horror films that turned me into me. So having you here, it's the lovely Felissa Rose. It is a very so thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I so appreciate that story. It's not unlike my husband. He got his first copy from Kmart, and
No way, same thing.
Yeah,
It was the Video Treasures one.
He didn't like the movie at first. He watched it, and then he saw the baseball scene, and he said, "I'm over this." He went back and rewatched it.
I remember it was Video Treasures. I remember it was like yesterday. I wish I still had the VHS, but yes, super excited to have you. I'm going to get right into it. I got so many questions for you. I'm super pumped. So let's just get into, where did you grow up? Like, where did you come from?
So I was born in Manhattan, in New York City, downtown. My parents both came from Manhattan. Actually, my mom was from Brooklyn, my dad Manhattan, and then they raised me in New York. And as I got older, I decided that I wanted to possibly move to California. So now I've been living in LA for about 16, 17 years with my husband.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about your formative years. Were your parents supportive of acting? Did you always want to be an actress? And how did you get into Sleepaway Camp? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, from, as early as I could really remember, I loved singing and dancing. So I was a big ham. I loved performing at any family function. You could always find me singing all of the Annie songs. I was just very dramatic as a child, and my mom took that so seriously. And she did enroll me in dancing school from when I was like 3. And then as I got a little older, like 9, 10 years old, I was very strongly involved with a local dancing school. And then a professional manager came in, and at about 11, 12, they started talking about me going on professional auditions. And one of my first auditions, there were 3 in one day. And one of them was Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, no way. I mean, how did
So I
they
was
take
glad.
did you like get the part right away? Did they have you come back a bunch of times? How does that work?
Well, so they told me, okay, you're going on a commercial audition, you're going on an off-Broadway audition, and then there's some horror movie where they're looking for young teenagers. And so I went to the audition, and I met with Robert Hiltzig, the writer-director, and he and I immediately hit it off. I just really liked him. I was very comfortable. It was fun. We had to improvise. There was no script in front of me. It was just easy. And then I got called back, and they told my mom about the last scene and would she be comfortable. My parents were always supportive. My dad has since passed, but my mom to this day is like, do whatever makes your heart happy, live out your dreams, whatever's your passion, you should really follow. And I've done that. So thanks.
That's amazing. I mean, that probably makes all the difference in the world. I mean, when you're that age.
I think so, yeah.
Were you a fan of the horror genre growing up, or did that just come from you being in this movie?
I mean, I had seen a few horror movies really young at like sleepovers, but I wouldn't say like I was this huge fan. But when we went to film Sleepaway Camp, I became the biggest fan because it really intrigued me what goes into not only filmmaking, but particularly horror movies, because I got to see Ed French at work with all of the effects. And that was so fascinating. Once I went, to see Sleepaway Camp on the big screen and the contrast between making the movie and watching the film, I was tremendously hooked and went on to watch all of the great films of that time.
What's your favorite memory of the filming of Sleepaway Camp? Is there something that stands out like in your mind as like your favorite memory?
Really, the whole cast and crew were so close. We were such a tight-knit family. Certainly my memories with like Jonathan Tiersten and Catherine Kami and Karen Fields were really, they stand out the most. And John Dunn. I'm still really good friends with them. In fact, we all did a Zoom hangout the other night, all of us and Tom Vandell. So I would say the people and being at camp. We really took advantage of being at the camp with swimming and boating and just all the regular kid stuff, hanging out in the cabins at night. It was fun.
So they were pretty lenient with what you did in your downtime. They let you go and have fun in between.
They did. I was certainly the youngest. Had just turned 13, so I was young, and my mom was there. Somehow, I mean, I have a 13-year-old and 14-year-old girls and a 10-year-old boy, and I don't know that I would have been as lenient as my mom was. She was kind of like, but it's the 80s, so I guess in comparison to how we are now, we didn't have phones, we didn't have electronics, really. It was kind of like, yeah, go enjoy. You couldn't play on your iPad or your Kindle or, any other device.
So was that the first thing you did? Would that be what you consider your first big break, or did you do anything before that?
That was really the first professional job I had, yes. And I went on to do some commercials and some theater in New York, but it wasn't really, I can't explain it. I wasn't immersed in the entertainment industry until way later. It was like, I went to school, I graduated, I was a business person for a while. I thought that would be important to establish myself in business if I wanted to really ever be an actor, because it's show business. So I ran a temporary placement agency for artists. And then I went on to find out that people liked Sleepaway Camp on the internet. And there were all of these websites. And then Fangoria had us at their, weekend of horrors, the Fangoria weekend. And then I met a lot of directors, and so began the horror career.
Let me ask you, I mean, there was a return to Sleepaway Camp, but has there been any talks of maybe perhaps revisiting it again? I mean, being that now it's in the height of popularity?
Oh my gosh, huge talks. I honestly believe that it will be made, whether it's a prequel, a sequel, an install, any kind of reimagining of this film, I think is bound to happen, because it's just really the last of the 80s that hasn't been remade. And I think the social topics are really relevant. So because they're so relevant, it would be really interesting to see the spin on a contemporary Sleepaway Camp.
I mean, sometimes remakes can be bad, but I mean, I feel if it's in the right hands, that could be a killer remake. No pun.
I know. I used to say that I didn't like remakes, but I think someone turned my opinion and said, it really helps the generation today find the classics, the older movies. So that kind of resonated with me, and I'm like, you know what? That's a really cool way to look at remakes. It brings out our love and spotlights the older films.
That's an interesting concept. That's really the case. Like, I guess it's not as bad as I think. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Heroin is a scream queen. Does that label ever bother you? Because sometimes people are like, ew, I hate when people call me scream queen, and other people embrace it. So how do you feel?
I'm in love with it. I'm honored. I'm flattered. It still boggles my mind that anybody says that about me. In fact, I had done a documentary called Something to Scream About probably like 17 years ago. And Jason Paul Collum, who did the doc, was calling me Scream Queen. And really up to that point, I hadn't done many horror movies. And I found it like, that's, an honor. Like, that's very serious. And I think it's, incredible to be labeled that, called that, whatever you want to say. I'm incredibly humbled by it. So thank you.
Has there ever been a time in your acting career where it was easier to play a character than be yourself?
I think it's always easier for me to be. That's a great question. Especially in the past, I'd say 7 or 8 years as an older actress, I'm really portraying a lot of characters, like from Victor Crowley to zombie killers, and even the last few films I've done, I'm sometimes in prosthetics, or like Garlic and Gunpowder, I'm in a big fat suit, like a 350-pound woman, and I really love it. And I like to kind of sink my teeth into these characters where you don't see me at all. And I'm still I'm insecure, I'm shy, I mean, as outgoing as I might come across, I have all the insecurities, that come with being an artist. And I love getting myself behind the role, like literally behind a mask.
Is there a role that you haven't played yet that you would like to, like a dream role?
I would love to be involved in anything that's vampire or werewolf based. I love Adrienne Barbeau's book. I love Love Bites. I would love to be involved in that if it were ever made into a film. I'm talking to someone now about doing a werewolf project. I find it fascinating, and I would certainly, again, kind of getting yourself into those kinds of characters really, makes me excited and kind of, I don't know, it's very ambitious and exciting. So I'd love to do it.
If they were to do a movie about your life, who do you think would be a suitable person to play you?
Probably one of my daughters, I would say. If it were someone like a little bit older, I mean, there's, I don't know. I don't really know. I would have to say definitely one of my kids, who could play me better than they. They're great at mimicking me all the time. So they would definitely do it justice. But yeah, I think that would be cool. I really like your question.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. What do you do in the downtime when you're on a movie set? I mean, generally actors and actresses have tons of time, and I mean, how do you pass the time?
I mean, I spend a lot of time with my family, especially now that we're in quarantine. We're cooking, we're, making TikToks, where I love the beach, I love the movies, I love bowling, I love outdoors, hiking. I'm all about adventure. Certainly I travel a lot because of the conventions. So anything that has to do with like even just getting in the car, it doesn't necessarily have to be on a plane. I love just kind of throwing myself into the world and really exploring. That's my true nature. And that's probably part of the reason why I love acting, because it's exploring the human condition, exploring the human psyche, what motivates someone to do something in a character. So I kind of like to also live on this land and like see kind of what what kind of excites you, ignites you, all those good things.
Excellent, by the way. But let me ask you this. Do you feel like you're a strong role model for young women? Because I feel like a lot of actresses in horror films, they are. So, like, how do you feel about that?
Again, I think like I'm always hesitant to say like I do the best I can do. I try to always be my best, especially because I know I am somewhat of a role model to the 3 children that I'm raising. So I think just having a good moral code and really sort of making great choices. And I always say have good manners, like, thank you, I'm grateful for this interview. I think it's important to show just kindness and compassion. That's just, I think, the way people should live life. So hopefully that's impactful just on my kids and how I behave and the way I treat others. So that's the best I can do.
That actually my next question. Would you recommend your acting to your children?
I would certainly always support them, and I would certainly always help them and do anything I can to make any of their dreams come true. I wouldn't necessarily, especially because when they were super young, I was not interested because I don't find it to be a childlike business. It's definitely more adult in the way, the rejection and the competition, if you want to use that word. I don't ever think of it as competition, but certainly you might see a room full of people that look like you and that it has that kind of, that vibe maybe. But now my oldest daughter is saying that she does like acting and maybe she would like to be an actress. And a few directors have approached her and she's already done some work. They were all in my Slayer videos that I produced. So I think, they've done a lot of things that I've put together or I've acted in. So maybe.
What's a fun fact about Felissa Rose that your fans may not know about you?
That I guess like I'm totally, I'm pretty cheesy. Like I'm very sappy and I love to sing and dance in the house all day long. Like I'm constantly belting out musical numbers. And
what's your favorite tune to belt out? We got to hear.
I mean, usually it's musical theater, so I'm still back in like
West Side Story.
West Side Story. Yes, I was just singing for like Maria. Like you can find me all day, and I'm a horrible singer.
Like a girl named Maria.
Exactly. When you're a jet from the first cigarette to your last dying day.
Last breath of air.
Or Grease. I'm a huge Grease fan. Or
me too.
They love Hamilton. I mean, anything that's, fun and vibrant and exciting, I'm totally into.
Nice. Have you ever encountered old friends, after you're successful, and are they, resentful of you or your success? And how do you handle that?
Oh, no, I don't think anyone now. I mean, I think it's funny because tonight my high school is doing like a class of 87 like DJ hangout, and I'm still friends with people from my high school boyfriend. We're still good friends, so it's always fun to just see people. A lot of them are creative. I mean, I went to the same high school, although I'm 2 years older than Idina Menzel, Judd Apatow, who's a big producer. So many cool people, and I just think like, wow, I look at their careers like, holy shit. Like Judd Apatow is the biggest producer in our town, so yeah. Pretty cool.
Is there a part you regret taking in your body of work at all? Is there anything you regret?
No, I always say, and I say this to my kids specifically, I don't have anything in my life that I regret because it will always have served some kind of purpose, whether I met someone that I, am now good friends with, or I just figured out a way to create a role that maybe I would never have gotten the opportunity to work through. So there's always a great reason why things are in your life and come to through your path. And yeah, I feel fortunate that these projects, this genre has given me an amazing career that I love, that I'm thankful for.
Nice. In this day where you almost hear a new sexual allegation against a celebrity a day, have you ever had any industry people like pressure you or proposition you while you were filming a movie?
No, I've never had anything like that. There's just never been that situation. And, I've never felt like threatened or felt, like I'm pressured to do something. And I have a pretty big voice. I mean, for as like insecure as I am in certain areas, I'm also I'm a Gemini, so I have the dual sides where I'm also very vocal, and I would certainly step up and say, step back, this is inappropriate. And again, teaching my girls to have that kind of a voice.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Where do you draw inspiration from the act? Is there any routine that you follow to get into a particular character?
I did study at the Lee Strasberg Conservatory, and that sense memory. So you definitely draw from everything in your life, anything that's ever happened, a person, certainly weather, music is very influential over me. I generally like to pick songs that make me feel like the character, so that when I'm on set, I can just immediately go to that. But it's really, there's a lot. I mean, it's wardrobe, it's shoes, it's a hairstyle. I mean, I'll often tell the director, I need this kind of a wig, or I want to feel like this, so it's good. I like to be collaborative and really get into it.
What's the weirdest thing a fan has ever asked you to do? Hopefully it's not this interview.
Oh, well, to sign, a dildo, a penis.
Wow.
Well, it is Sleepaway, Cal.
I get it, but I mean, I guess if you're not prepared for it, it'd be a little surprising.
I'm used to it. I mean, look, I'm Joe Bob Briggs' mangled dick expert. So,
I know. I'm a big Joe Bob fan. Oh.
Well, keep watching because there's a lot of surprises coming up.
Oh, nice. I loved when you're the mangled dick experts.
Thank you. I have a blast with him. I love that man. He's the best, so man.
He was on my show before, and he was so cool. He went to he was doing a one-man show, How Redneck Save Home.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just the best. Him and Darcy are just amazing. So,
I love them so much, and I feel like the three of us will always have a very strong bond because of the first marathon,
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Good stuff.
It's fun.
Describe your worst date growing up.
My first day?
Your worst date.
Date?
Mm-hmm.
My worst date? That's really amazing.
I was hoping you'd say that.
I would have to say, although I don't remember what the movie was, it was a blind date many, many, many years ago, and we just went to an awful movie, and I had to sit next to each other the whole time, and I just remember feeling like, I wonder why people can't say to one another, I don't really want to be here. You don't really want to be here. Let's just call it quits. But I am on one hand, I am a people pleaser, and I never want to hurt anyone, so we just got through it, and then it was like, okay, thank you so much. Let's never talk again now. But that was it. Yeah.
I've read about actresses and actors getting into a certain role, and it's hard to get lost in it. Have you ever played a part where you feel like you've kind of got lost in it and it was hard to come out of?
I did, yeah. I actually did a short film. It was the first project I really had done after taking a long hiatus, having gone to college and whatnot. And it was called Birds of a Feather. And I was playing a character named Dolores, who was really a psycho. I mean, she was just a next door neighbor, and she had a very sort of maniacal, I would say really horrible innards. That's the only way I could describe her. And I generally try to find the good in my characters, because you should always kind of have different layers and textures when you portray someone. You don't want it to fall flat. But with this particular woman, the way it was written and the way she kills her best friend because she just thinks that the next door neighbor, her best friend, is cheating with her husband. I got so into the role that it was very difficult for me. And you could almost see in the short that at the end, I'm like outrageously angry. And I don't know if it's because it was the very first time after having not acted in a long time that I just decided to go balls to the wall, so to speak. But I really got lost in that character and kind of had to step back after we wrapped to say, like, okay, chill out, like, you know. So it does happen. I can see where people get so caught up in the emotional life of who they're living. And especially if you're like a Christian Bale or Charlize Theron, you know, in Monster, or, you know, all the great films that these wonderful actors have been in. They just kind of fall into the mindset and the psyche of the people.
Do you feel like that's what happened to Heath Ledger?
I think Heath is, you know, he was one of the greatest actors. I don't, you know, I certainly didn't know him and I couldn't speak for him, but, you know, I'm sure he was very deeply involved in that. Yeah, in the character. Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, he's another one who's mesmerizing. They're so captivating that I think the only way they could really bring forth that like true beast, that true nature of the character is to kind of get so in there that it's hard to kind of break the walls down afterwards.
Let me ask you this. Does being an actress ever affect, you know, relationships, whether it be spouse or personal or friends, and how can you find that balance between acting and personal life?
That's a really you're good. Certainly there's a lot that goes into, like, once you're working with actors. So whether and going back to Birds of a Feather, it was my girlfriend who was playing the friend, and I sort of felt like I was Dolores, but where's the line with then being Felissa and not liking her in the scene, you know? And I think you can get caught up. I mean, look, there was all the, you know, the relationships that occur on set. We know all about them. I think you just have to be really, you know, go to set knowing it's your workplace, it's your playground, it's safe. That's why I generally work with so many great friends. I work with the same directors over and over, because it is like a place where you want to make sure that you, especially in horror, you feel comfortable. So I work with a lot of the same people, and we're just like Dave Sheridan. I've done so many movies with him, and then we just wrapped a movie in February called Screen Test, where he and I play, you know, lovers. And you know, he's like my brother. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable, and it's not weird. And I always just want to make sure I'm working with people I absolutely love and adore.
Who can you say has given you the most inspiration and support in your career thus far?
I mean, probably my husband. My husband really, you know, he was the reason I sort of went from acting to producing. He bought me 3 books when I was having kids about producing, and he's the reason I wound up with the job of producing the 3 Slayer videos off the Repentless album, because it's his record, the record label he signed to. So he's always like, and he really cares, like he really watches the films I'm in. He gives me honest criticism. Sometimes he doesn't like I love this movie I made called Satan's Playground, and he doesn't really like it. He loves Return to Sleepaway Camp, which a lot of people hate. He loves it. Like, he's honest in his opinion. He's not swayed by any, like, you know, kind of just kind of opinions by everyone else. He gives me his critique.
Have you ever found yourself working on a film set where you didn't get along with somebody, and how did you cope with that?
I've never had that. I've never, there was one instance where there was a director who was a bit, and I talked about this on the podcast that I do, And the question was like, is there someone that we've had on set who didn't, was maybe negative or hurt the production? And it was difficult because, especially if it's the director, because he's our leader, he navigates the whole road. But other than that, we were okay. And at the end of it, he was angry and he had some problems with a lot of the people on the set, but we got through it.
What would you be doing if you weren't acting?
If I weren't acting, I'd probably be a preschool teacher. I love kids and I love like pretending I'm a teacher, which is kind of funny because now in quarantine, I am the teacher. So I'm always like, let's go on a field trip. Let's try to make it fun like this. Let's have a snack. Like, I think I'm, the teacher.
What's the best gift he's ever given you?
This is going to be cheesy. I would have to say, having my kids is the greatest gift. So
it's not cheesy at all. That's admirable.
Having met my husband on the set of Return to Sleepaway camp, and I wasn't quite sure if I would ever be a mom or that I wanted to be a mom. I wasn't sure because I was really into my career and I was a party girl. And he was like, no, I want to have a lot of kids. Let's do this. And so it's a great gift.
Nice.
Very, very fortunate.
If you could get in a time machine and go back in time and tell little Felissa some key advice, what would you say to her?
Stop taking everything so seriously. Enjoy every single moment. Never try to get to the destination. Always live in the journey. Be really present. Be right here. Like if I'm speaking with you, I'm fully focused on you. And I try to really live my life that way. And it brings a lot more joy because when you're kind of, all over the place or you have too many kind of noises in your head and you listen to everything, it's distracting and you can't really enjoy what's in the moment.
That's good. That's perfect. Who is someone that you admire that you've never gotten to work with yet?
Meryl Streep.
Oh, no.
I think her kindness and her humility is really attractive and beautiful. And her work, her body of work is mesmerizing. I mean, she's just one of the greats. And I would love to just be in a room near her. She's amazing.
Well, that leads me to my next question. What would you consider to be your best performance out of your book?
I always say all of the movies and all of the characters I've portrayed are like children, so it's hard to like ever choose one. I have some that I've just loved. I loved, like I said, Kathleen and Victor Crowley. I love Angela. Excuse me. Sorry.
That's all right.
I had like a tickle in my throat. I loved Ma and Garlic and Gunpowder. I love Sheriff Jerry in Return to Sleepaway Camp. I love Sister Monday in my new film that comes out next week, A Nun's Curse. I love Rootwood, Laura, the producer that I play. She's crazy. I love Satan's Playground. That was so much fun. So, each of them has brought so much joy and happiness and memories, very sentimental. So there's not one. Sorry for the long-winded,
No, I like that. I like that. I like people that can actually answer a question. Most people's like, man, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, no, there's too much to say.
Have you ever had a bad day and you're stuck on a film set, and how do you soldier through that?
If I ever have like a bad day, even in general, whether I'm on set or not, I generally listen to like a meditation that like calms me and kind of like inspires me to have all those good feelings. Or I'll just think of like a good memory from something, whether it's a trip with my family or food you could always eat. That's always good. But yeah, I'm all about like finding ways to kind of sift through that. I mean, look at what we're all going through right now. And definitely rather than give into like, oh no, what's going to happen? It's always better to find ways to make the lemonade from the lemons and find alternative, places to go in your, whether it's in your mind space or your, in your physicality. I'm trying to work out a lot. I'm trying to be outdoors because it's beautiful here. Listen to great music, have fun with the kids. Just, you'll find ways to improve your mood.
Stay grounded, pretty much.
Definitely. And like, I have this whole thing about like, if you're joyful, like it's a spiral, it's momentum. You'll feel more. And then the more you feel, the better. And it goes in a domino effect.
Well, there's something I've been dying to ask you this whole interview. I just recently found out that you're going to be in the upcoming, hugely anticipated sequel to Terrified Part 2. What are you allowed to tell me about this, if anything?
I don't think I can really say anything other than I love Damien Leone. I love David Howard Thornton. I love Fuzz on the Lens Productions, who produced the film. I love that whole team, and I do a lot of conventions with them. And I was like, look, you better put me in that now, because when I love something, I kind of stalk and harass people. Like I love the new movie Porno that's coming out. So Keola, the director, I'm like, you're stuck with me. I just did their panel with them yesterday. It comes out Friday. So look for that. But yeah, when I love people like Adam Green, I stalk them. I'm a huge Hatchet fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
We just had David on not too long ago. He's just incredible.
He's great. One of my great friends. I love him so much.
I love the way he thinks too. He's a brilliant thinker.
He's hilarious and awesome and intellect and just really, really kind person.
Well, before we close, can you provide any words of wisdom to my listeners about the life of a Scream Queen? Do you feel like it was worth it?
I am always starting my day with gratitude. It was the greatest, I feel like, gift to be able to work in this genre. I every day feel like I do fly on cloud 9 because I just, I'm fortunate to do what I love to do, to make movies that I love. I feel like because of Sleepaway Camp, I have a professional career, I have a personal life. My husband was the big Sleepaway Camp fan. So, I'm always saying, start with gratitude and thank you to anybody who watches the movies we make. And I feel lucky. Thank you.
Can you tell me what's coming for Terrifier 2 for Felissa Rose?
What's coming up? Mm-hmm. Screen Test is coming out. Big Freaking Rat is coming out. For Jennifer just came out. Rootwood just came out. A Nun's Curse is coming out next week. Amityville Harvest is coming out. I'm working on 3 films as soon as we're finished with quarantine that I have lined up on location. Ghosts in San Francisco and an Amityville Moon, another Amityville film with Thomas Churchill. A lot of conventions, a lot of fun, and just, trying to connect with people and meet everyone.
How do you feel conventions will change after the transition back to normal society?
I think it's just going to have a different sort of model. I think we'll probably see some masks and gloves and less hugging, which saddens my heart because I am very touchy-feely. But we'll just have to keep ourselves safe by keeping a little distance and maybe less people in the room at one time. And that's, that's a good way to sort of get ourselves back in and feeling comfortable. And then we'll be back to normal before we know it.
We find you on the social medias, the information superhighway.
Oh, I'm everywhere. Thank you. I'm Felissa Rose. Thank you, Sugar. FelissaRose.com. And then I am Felissa_Rose for Twitter. Felissa Rose 123 on Instagram and Facebook, Felissa Rose Esposito Miller.
Well, there you have it with the lovely Felissa Rose. Thank you.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. Can't appreciate it enough from the bottom of my heart. This is thank you so much.
You're so lovely and wonderful.
It was a pleasure meeting you. You were the best.
Stay well and be healthy. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Take care.
Peace and love. Yes. Bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots of love. Peace. Thank you.